Starting off this countdown, we have the Prophecies. A biblical preacher believes that the end of the world is near, as almost all the prophecies laid out in the book of Revelation have been fulfilled, meaning the apocalypse is going to happen soon. Basically, in the book of Revelation, the 7 seals are the apocalyptic visions seen by John of Patmos. And apparently we have one more prophecy to fulfill before we reach the 7th seal, which marks the end of the world. Here are some of the seals that we have fulfilled. The 6th seal talks about an earthquake, followed by the sun turning black and the moon turning blood red, and mountains and islands disappearing underwater. Well, he believes that this happened with the Lisbon earthquake in November of 1755. A very disastrous earthquake caused a tsunami that covered cities. Then 25 years later in New England, the sun was completely blacked out by noon. They called it New England's Dark Day. That's not all. Over the years, we have had a number of blood moons where the moon appears red. So that right there fulfills all of the points in the 6th seal, meaning we are now on to the 7th seal, the final one. In our 9th spot today, we have the underwater cities. Within the next couple of years, a number of big cities and places are predicted to be underwater, like New York, Key West, Florida, Fiji, Bangladesh, Miami, Florida, Bangkok, and New Orleans. Environmentalist Jeff Goodall had this to say about Miami. There's virtually no scenario under which you can imagine Miami existing at the end of the century. Conditions are getting so bad in Miami that the city may have to soon raise its structures to stay above water. In fact, it's believed the sea level could rise anywhere from 10 to 30 feet by the end of the century. For Key West, Florida, it's said by 2060 over 60% of the livable land there will have been flooded. In 2100, 95% of livable land will be flooded, and in 2100, 95% of livable land there will be flooded. And then we have Bangkok. Bangkok is sinking at a rate of more than 1 to 2 centimeters a year. Currently is only 0.5 to 2 meters above the water. Much of Bangkok is already lower than the sea level, so it's believed that it could be fully below sea level by 2030. These are all terrifying statistics, and most of it is due to climate change and the sea levels rising. In our 8th spot today, we have outer space. It's crazy to think about how small Earth is in comparison to the entire universe. At any second, some massive asteroid could come hurtling down towards the Earth and kill us all. Well, guess what? NASA has said that over the next couple of years there are going to be more close calls. As in, big asteroids will be flying closer and closer to Earth. All we need is for a rogue one to come directly our way and we're toast. Moving on, at number 7 we have Nostradamus. If you're a long-time subscriber of this channel, then you should know who Nostradamus is by now. For those of you who don't know, well then you gotta subscribe to our channel and binge watch all our old videos. Just kidding, but Nostradamus was a famous seer and prophet. He wrote a book which included all of his future predictions, and a number of them have come true already, which is freaky. Now according to Nostradamus, we are currently headed towards the end of the world. First off, he predicted that a worldwide famine will occur. He said, and I quote, "After great trouble for humanity, a greater one is prepared. The great mover renews the ages, rain, blood, milk, famine, steel, and plague. Is the heavens' fire seen a long spark running?" Well, we are already seeing great trouble for humanity with the pandemic, so that part has already come true. And the pandemic has already forced millions of people to rely on food banks. But it's about to get much worse. Then he also predicted more natural disasters, and then finally it will all end with a zombie apocalypse. Isn't that just peachy? In our 6th spot today we have the Futurists. A bunch of futurists believe that 2021 is the end of times, but they never told us how it's going to happen. They just predicted it and then left it as that. But here's the thing. Several months ago, people discovered that in the Ethiopian calendar, 2020 is actually 2012. And remember that huge scare we all had back in 2012 when everyone thought that the world was ending? Now clearly that didn't happen, but if they're right, and the world is going to end in 2012, well, this year is 2012, which means we're all dead by 2021. Isn't that great? We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with Baba Vanga's predictions. Baba Vanga is another famous prophet in history. In fact, 85% of her predictions have come true, so she does have some legitimacy behind her name, which makes this next prediction very scary. For 2021 and the upcoming years, Baba Vanga predicted great disasters. She said, and I quote, "The world will suffer from a lot of cataclysms and great disasters. The consciousness of people will change. Difficult times will come. People will be divided by their faith. We are witnessing devastating events that will change the fate and destiny of humanity." Great. Now she didn't say what exactly these devastating events are, but we should buckle our seatbelts, because she also said that 2021 will be filled with great suffering and disasters. Coming in at number 4 today, we have the natural disasters. Climate change is a very serious issue. We're at the point of no return. And according to scientists, this means that we will be faced with more powerful, extreme, and deadly natural disasters. For example, we got wildfires. According to environmentalists, we are going to experience warmer and drier conditions and increased droughts, which wildfires thrive in. But we have more to worry about than just forest fires. Massive hurricanes and tsunamis will be on the rise. I mean, just recently we were hit with Hurricane Ida. This hurricane flooded New York City and New Jersey. They saw levels of rainfall they have never seen before. Residents were left trapped in flooded cars and basements, and tornadoes whipped through the air, destroying towns and homes. And like I said, it's only getting worse. Moving on to number 3, we have the apocalypse. According to a number of different ancient Indian texts, they believe that time is comprised of 4 great seasons or yugas. The final one is called Kali Yuga. Some believe that this yuga is still thousands of years away, so we don't gotta worry, but others believe we're currently in this yuga, so we do gotta worry. Here's the thing. This is the final yuga. It's said to be filled with disaster and conflict and sin. It's also supposed to mark the end of the world. Towards the end of the yuga, there will be a third world war where millions of people worldwide will lose their lives. This will mark the apocalypse. The only good news is that the Kalki avatar will come to save the world and end the suffering and bring upon a new universe / a golden age. Coming in at number 2, we have Disease X. This is an unknown disease that scientists believe and anticipate could wipe out all of mankind. They don't know what this disease is, but after analyzing the current state of our world, they are convinced it will happen in the near future. We are setting up the Earth to be a perfect environment for a new outbreak to occur. World Health Organization Committee Science Advisor John Arne Roentgen says that the next big outbreak will be something that we haven't seen before. The World Health Organization then goes on to say that it's only a matter of time before a new, extremely deadly disease wipes out the population. There are so many different strains of bacteria and viruses, they could easily just mutate and form a new, even deadlier disease. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the unbelievable weather pattern. Just last month, for the first time ever, rain fell on the summit of Greenland instead of snow. This is scary evidence that Greenland is warming at an alarming rate. Scientist Ted Scambo said, and I quote, "What is going on is not simply a warm decade or two in a wandering climate pattern. This is unprecedented." Continuing on, he said, and I quote, "We are crossing thresholds not seen in millennia, and frankly, this is not going to change until we adjust what we're doing to the air." A major UN climate report discovered that the burning of fossil fuels is what is leading to Greenland melting. In fact, Earth has lost 28 trillion tons of ice since the mid-1990s. That's a huge amount of ice in a small period of time. If the ice sheets keep going on this path and keep melting, the Earth could be destroyed before we know it.
Starting us off at number 10 is an alien invasion. So if the seers of our world are to be believed, then 2023 is in store for some pretty wild stuff. In fact, according to the famous blind seer Baba Vanga, it's not just typical human wars that we should be worried about this year, but the invasion of an evil alien species as well. Now, there are many different conspiracy theories surrounding the existence of aliens to begin with. Among believers, some think they are harmless, while others think they are dangerous, and there's even a third sort of faction that suggests there is obviously more than one race of aliens, so both dangerous and peaceful could exist in our universe. Putting aside the theories surrounding if aliens are dangerous or not, according to Baba Vanga, this year we will be invaded by a race of bloodthirsty monsters that will tragically result in the end of humankind. If that's all true, it would mean that 2023 would be the last year that we all have here, as again, she predicts that aliens will wipe out the human race and take over planet Earth. I mean, there's very little I can use to verify the validity of this statement, but you can sure hope I'm praying it's not true, cause well, I don't want to die. All that being said, if the conspiracy of alien existence is true, would the government know about their impending arrival and be preparing for such a disaster? I mean, I just have some questions. Let's hope this one misses the mark and does not come true. Next up at number 9 is a major cosmic event. Another modern day self-proclaimed seer had something to add to the 2023 prediction list. Craig Hamilton Parker, a British seer who has been nicknamed the Prophet of Doom, says he had a vision of a major cosmic event that will take place in our solar system sometime during the year 2023. Quote, I have a feeling of something like a very huge solar flare, and I feel this would be significant, whether that reaches the Earth or whether it affects all of our technology or something like that. He then went on to clarify, quote, "I can't explain exactly what it is. You know, I can't see everything. I see parts of things. I get feelings of things." Of course, he isn't the only prophet to foresee some kind of solar problem causing technological breakdown in the year 2023. In fact, Baba Vanga had a similar foresight. I guess that makes me wonder, does two people with similar visions indicate it's super strong prediction, or does it make it less plausible? I have no idea. I'm just thinking out loud. Let's just hope that nothing world-ending actually comes true. Next up at number 8 is the Antichrist. Among the many other foresights predicted for the year of 2023, one I did not have on my bingo card is the return of the Antichrist. Well, according to Athos Salome, a modern psychic who some are even calling the living Nostradamus, says he has seen that the year 2023 will bring forth, quote, "beginning of the end," and that the Antichrist will rise once more. Athos specified that he had a vision prior to the new year that showed the enemy of the Messiah wreaking havoc on Earth between 2023 to 2026, and that we're in store for some dark evil in the next 3 years. He goes on to explain that the Antichrist is not necessarily just one person, but rather an entity with an ability to pervade into multiple people or places. Truthfully, this is one of the more vague predictions on the list. He doesn't go into much detail about where it come from, just that it, quote, "won't come from Europe," contrary to popular belief. I was unaware that was the common belief up until this point. I guess my biggest question is, how will we know what is the work of the Antichrist? Listen, I'm not saying he's lying, I'm just saying I have some follow-up questions. Also, I just really hope it's not true, because I'm not too keen on the Antichrist roaming the planet for the next 3 years. It's been dark enough lately. I'm not really looking for things to get worse. Coming in at number 7 is a war against the wealthy. If you have been on the internet lately, you've probably come across many people joking about eating the rich. Of course, this doesn't refer to physically doing so, at least I hope it doesn't, but rather the lower class wanting to take down the ludicrously rich and powerful. This isn't anything new. There have been many revolutions throughout history that involved plebeians storming the gates of kings and overthrowing their rule. Remember the French Revolution? Well, according to everyone's famous psychic Nostradamus, the year 2023 could bring forward another revolution of the sorts. As he predicts, quote, "sooner than later you will see great changes made, dreadful horrors and vengeance. The trumpet shakes with great discord, an agreement broken, lifting the face to heaven, the bloody mouth will swim with blood, the face anointed with milk and honey lies on the ground." There are definitely a few factors that make this kind of believable. I mean, we're dealing with a huge cost of living crisis, climate crisis, mental health crisis, and an uptick in people living without homes. And I think overall, there are a lot of people looking for a new way of formulating the world we live in. That being said, a full-on revolution involving war and people's lives should not be taken lightly, and would absolutely be a very scary reality if it did really come true. Next up at number 6 is Rise of the Robots. Feels like every time I turn around, technology is becoming more and more advanced. In a lot of ways, this is helpful, for sure. But at the same time, I have seen far too many movies where robots take over the world, so I always get a little freaked out once I see AI involved in any kind of powerful capacity. Like, has anyone else seen that robot that was created by the Atlas team at Boston Dynamics that can literally do parkour? Like, what if it gets smart enough to change its programming and turn against you? There's no beating a parkour robot. Essentially, the prediction for 2023 is that AI is going to become so enmeshed with our way of living that the need for human input will become virtually extinct. Humans will start losing their jobs to AI, and not just things like the minimum wage jobs where we already have seen a massive rise in machinery taking over. I'm talking like financial advisors or doctors, meaning an AI could be in charge of your financial decisions or even make life or death decisions for you. To me, this just sounds like we're asking for trouble. Robots or AI being in charge of such important things seems to me like a recipe for a dystopian disaster. Call me crazy, but but being chased by a parkour robot is just not the fantasy for 2023. Coming in at number 5, climate crisis takeover. Not to get too depressing, but if there was one thing on the list that is actually backed up by the most facts, it would be this one. I mean, we have data showing the rise of sea levels from melting ice caps, the overall average rise in temperatures over the years, rise of greenhouse gases, and so on. I say all of this not to be a buzzkill, but to point out that experts already know our planet is in trouble, and so that just makes Nostradamus' prediction all the more eerie. As the seer put it, quote, "The dry land will dry up even more, and there will be great floods when you see the rainbow." The rainbow refers to another prediction he has made, where he said the world wouldn't see a rainbow for 40 years, or something like that, and so seeing one would be a clue that the impending Earth doom was upon us. Now, the good news is that rainbows have not disappeared in the last 40 years, so if he was wrong on that one, hopefully he's wrong on this one too. Coming in at number 4 is the end of the Vatican. While the Vatican was only declared its own independent state less than 100 years ago, papacy and the Catholic Church date back as far as the 7th century. I mean, I can't really name many things that have existed as a tradition throughout time for that long. However, shockingly, according to the one and only Nostradamus, 2023 might just be the downfall of papacy and the Vatican entirely, which would be wild. Apparently, as it was foretold, in the year 2023, the current pope will resign and he will be the last true pope. His replacement, who will be named Peter, will create or be a part of a scandal that is so shameful to the church and papacy that it will bring down the entire Roman Catholic Church. Quote, "In the final persecution of the Holy Roman Church, there will be Peter the Roman, who will feed his flock amid many tribulations, after which the seven-hilled city will be destroyed, and the dreadful judge will judge the people." The end. Now, it's no secret that the Vatican has been involved in a few scandals, to put it lightly, many of which would have ended the career of just about anything or anyone else in the world. So what else could they be involved in that would finally be the last straw? I suppose we will just have to wait and see if it comes true or not. Next up at number 3 is the extinction of all fish. Kind of piggybacking on his own prediction of a climate crisis imploding our Earth in the year 2023, Nostradamus also foresees that this year the planet Earth will sadly see the extinction of all fish across the globe. His prediction states, quote, "Like the sun, the head shall sear the shining sea. The Black Sea's living fish shall all but boil." Essentially, it sounds like he predicts that due to the increase in temperature, the fish in the sea will cook to death. I mean, not only would that be tragic for obvious reasons, like the extinction of an entire species, but it would also cause a huge issue in regards to global food sources. According to the World Wildlife Foundation, 3 billion people worldwide rely on fish and other seafood as their main source of protein, so the consequences of this would be astronomical. Plus, on a less serious note, the entire planet would smell like dead fish, which, I mean, I don't even know how to fathom how rank that would be. Let's just cross our fingers Nostradamus was off with this one. Coming in at number 2, a civil war. So if you remember from part 1 of this series, one of the things Nostradamus predicted was World War III. And apparently this isn't the only conflict that our world might come face to face with this year. If Nostradamus is correct, in 2023, the United States will also be facing another civil war. However, unlike their previous civil war during 1861 to 1865 that fought to end slavery among other tensions of the time, in 2023 it will be a political war between Democrats and Republicans. This prediction first appears in his 1555 novel, and he hasn't been the only seer to predict it. That being said, however, he's probably the most well-known psychic historically, so this foresight is most commonly attached to his name. Nostradamus was not clear on what the exact cause of the 2023 Civil War will be, but he does say that it will last for an extended period of time and that it will be very violent. Honestly, the last thing I want is another war, but there is definitely some tension between political parties in the states, so I mean, who knows. I just hope that whatever whatever comes up can be worked through without bloodshed. And last up today on our number 1 spot is an inflation zombie apocalypse. By the end of this year, inflation is supposed to get so bad that humans will begin eating the flesh of others just to survive. As the 15th century seer put it, quote, "So high will a bushel of wheat rise that man will be eating his fellow man." And I mean, I don't know about you, but with the price of groceries these days, he may be onto something. Okay, but being serious, there actually have been pockets of history where this exact same tragedy happened. The Leningrad famine, for example, was a very dark time with a rise in poverty and an extreme shortage of food, and people were being arrested for eating other humans. It goes without saying that this would be a nightmare, so let's just hope that he had this one wrong, because I'm not looking to make The Walking Dead a reality at any point in time.
Kicking off the list at number 10. True Way. There was once a UFO religion from Taiwan that predicted the end of the world. I forgot to tell you to put on your tinfoil hats for this one, sorry. Of course I have to kick off our part 2 with this one. True Way religion mixes Christianity, Buddhism, Taiwanese folk religion, and UFO conspiracy all together. Just a potluck of fun ideas. How great is that? We love it. Leader Han Ming-chen believed that the end of the world was near, as do many others on this list. He preached that God would appear on US national television, of course on Channel 18, not HBO, Channel 18, very specific. He believed that Jesus would return on March 25th, 1988 to announce that he would officially return in the following week. So he would come and say, hey, see you in a bit, and then disappear again. It's a pretty wild prediction. The following year, he then preached that millions of devil spirits and a massive flood would result in the mass extinction of the human population. Nice, you're either gonna die by a flood or by demons. 50-50 at that point on the horrible demise. It sounded pretty frightening to some, but Han Ming-chen had a plan to save those who followed him and his beliefs. How convenient, the man with a plan. All you had to do was pay a large fee to then board a spacecraft disguised as a cloud that would of course then be sent to rescue them. Yeah, it gets crazier, believe it or not. Number 9. Millerism. Religious leader William Miller started preaching in 1831, and he believed the world was going to end, so now everybody else around him also had to as well. According to him, the end times would come within the second coming of Christ, and that he would return in 1843. Again, we love a heads up. That's a proper prediction. Give us a year or a week or a month, then we'll believe you. This prediction led Miller to gaining 100,000 followers, in real life mind you, and they all believed that in the end they too would be carried off to heaven with William Miller. Obviously the world didn't end in 1843, Miller recalculated and then instead predicted the end of the world would actually happen the following year in 1844. Yeah, classic. He's like, nah, just keep waiting a bit more. We're like, come on Miller. You're teasing us. Documents were found in one of Miller's followers who wrote about his experience waiting for the predicted events to unfold, and he seemed a little, dare I say, pissed off that nothing ever happened. And you know what? I would be upset too if someone was convincing me the world was gonna end, and then all of a sudden they're like, actually no, it's next year. I'm just kidding. I'm like, guy, I just spent all of my money. I left my family. What are we doing here? Number 8, the prophet hen of Leeds. Nostradamus who? We have a prophet hen now, okay? Step your game up. Step your animal game up. That's right, a barnyard animal was warning humanity of the end of all times. This all began in 1806 in Leeds, England. There once lived a chicken who laid quite the egg. Apparently on the eggshells were messages that read how, Christ is coming back. He's coming back. Yeah, I'm more of a scrambled eggs kind of guy, but these are cool too, I guess. These are cool eggs. The hen got pretty famous, obviously. Once word got out, people began to travel far and wide to see this miracle for themselves. But then next came the panic, right? Then they began worrying about this impending doom, but fear not. See, this chicken was in fact a fraud. He's a liar. He's a liar chicken. You liar. Well, no, the owner was a liar, but still. Guilty by association, pal. You're an accomplice. No, the chicken was very innocent here. Yeah, the owner had been writing on the eggs, and then they put the eggs back in the chicken to make it seem like the chicken had just had said eggs when company arrives. Yeah, pretty horrible, right? I'm surprised it took that long to catch on, to be honest. I'd be like, hey, maybe he's doing, I don't know, maybe he's putting the eggs back in. Just a guess. Number 7, the second beast. Yeah, just when you thought it was safe, A second beast shows up. There we go. I've lost track at this point. Giants, locusts, whatever it does happen, it doesn't sound like it's going to be a great time. Let's be honest here. Biblical beasts would be a way to go out. That would be an epic way, that's for sure. The first beast came out of the sea, but the second beast, that one came from the earth. Yeah, sneak attack, hidden in Revelation 13:11. Then I saw another beast rising out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, and it spoke like a dragon. Yeah, it sounds like the devil. Sounds like you're talking about the devil. Hiding in the earth, I mean, who else could it be? There's Jesus from up there, so big bad's gotta live, down there. The second beast isn't described as well in detail, but it did cause fire to fall from the sky, and it liked to mark people with the mark of the beast. But fire from the sky, that reminds us of something. Reminds me of something that happened back in 1666. Let's talk about it. Number 6. The Great Fire of London. Back in the 1600s, London saw quite the blaze, the Great Fire of 1666. Now, in the Bible, it references the number 666 as the number of the beast, living in the depths below, right? We just saw him, the 2-horned fella we just mentioned, right? Hiding down below, waiting, the second beast, waiting for the sneak attack. So many Christians in Europe back in the 1600s believed that the world was going to end in 1666. It's kind of like our version of the Mayan Calendar debacle back in 2012. The thing is, the Great Fire actually happened that year. Yeah, pretty scary. September 2nd to September 5th, the blaze destroyed the city, including 87 churches and 13,000 homes. Many saw this as the prophecy of the end of the world coming true, right? Obviously, you look around and it sure looks like it. But on the bright side of all this, pun not intended, with all the property damage, the death toll for this Great Fire was relatively low. It was only 10 people that lost their lives. That's less than half of the lives lost in Salem witch trials in comparison, so could be worse, could be a lot worse, but still definitely a biblical ending for 10 folks, which is pretty tragic. Number 5, the Great Flood. This one is most likely how we'll all meet our collective demise. Back in the 1500s, German mathematician and astrologer Johann Stoffler, he predicted that a great flood would cover the world and result, of course, in the death of humanity as we know it. Yeah, how fun is that? And like any great prediction, he even pinpointed a specific date. We love those. Again, we love warnings. Give us some time. Thank you. Let us pack our February 25th, 1524. This is when all of the planets would be aligned under Pisces, a water sign. So, flooding, you see the connection, right? Obviously someone put this together, thought they were a genius. Soon after he made this prediction, hundreds of pamphlets were spread around warning of this great flood. And as you can imagine, this caused a lot of panic to follow. Yeah, pamphlets go way back, eh? People have been giving those out for a while. Gotta do, let's top 10 oldest pamphlets. That'd be one. A German nobleman believed this, maybe a little too much, and he gathered all of his resources to build a 3-story ark. Yeah, the guy went full on Noah for this doomsday prediction. But I mean, can you blame him? Pamphlets, everyone's talking about it, I'd believe it too. In the end though, when the day did arrive, February 25th, 1524, it did rain, but it was a light one at most. No flooding going on in this town. Not yet, at least. Number 4, vampires. Vampires were mentioned in around 50 verses from the Bible. Yeah, can you believe that? Of course, this is an ongoing argument because the verse, there are those whose teeth are swords, whose fangs are knives, to devour the poor from the earth, the needy among mankind. Many believe it's not actually vampires here that's being referenced and rather just the wealth of the people that's being devoured. No actual, like blood sucking is actually going on. But I don't know, sea monsters, locusts, multiple horned demons, the devil, it sounds like vampires would be the least of our concerns, if I'm being honest. The 4 beasts of Daniel or Edward Cullen. I don't know, I could probably take them. Just get everything done during the day and wear tons of silver. Easy, I can do that. That's like Johnny Depp now. He goes out when it's just, sunlight. Wears a lot of silver. Is he a vampire? Johnny Depp's a vampire. I just realized. Number 3, Nephilim. There it is. The E in the I before E except the Nephilim. The Nephilim are demigods. They were described, of course, as being gigantic and scary in size. And in Genesis 6:14, they're mentioned as such. When people began to multiply on the face of the ground, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that they were fair, and they took wives for themselves of all that they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit shall not abide in immortals forever, for they are flesh. Their days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterwards when the sons of God went into the daughters of humans, who bore children to them. These were the heroes that were of the old, warriors of the renown. So the sons of God, these fallen ones, many believe are not the greatest. They're fallen sons like Lucifer, right? Number 1333, there's a passage that says, And there we saw the Nephilim, and we seemed to ourselves like grasshoppers, and so we seemed to them. Yeah, giants, grasshoppers, Lucifer, whatever's going on here, I'm all set. I would rather drown in the flood. Number 2, Mayan Calendar. It's 2022, which means the world thankfully did not end in 2012. But the Mayan calendar predicted that on December 21st, 2012, this would be, a great doomsday. I remember I was alive during this. I was like 17. I was kind of worried, I'm not gonna lie. No meteors hit, Thanos didn't snap any of us away, nothing happened, but that date did mark the end of their 5,125-year-long calendar count. Yeah, and you thought you were a planner? Meet the Mayans. The Mayan calendar is extremely accurate, right? So that's why we kind of believed all this. Their calendar is 10,000ths of a day more exact than the calendar that we use today. Yeah, we have leap years to try and smooth it out. It's hard working out time, Planets and all that jazz, how did they do it? We have no idea. They used 20-day months and they had 2 calendar years. They had a 260-day sacred round and then a 365-day year. Every 52 years, these 2 calendars would coincide with one another, and this was referred to as a bundle, which is the Mayan equivalent to our century. Do you think their calendar was off? Is the end of the world around the corner? Many believe that it's actually going to happen soon, and that the 2012 is going to happen in 2022. And finally, number 1, the 4 beasts of Daniel. Damn, Daniel, back at it again with revelations and eating the world and destroying everything we know and love. We'll end this list off with a foreign one, because I'm nice like that. Of course, many of these endings to our big blue beautiful world involve a beast or 2, or a demon of some sorts, or just the devil more often than not. While the biblical 4 beasts of Daniel sound like they have some bang behind their buck, that's for sure. These entities are described as lions with eagle's wings. There's also a bear, and there's a leopard, and there's a 4th beast that is a complete mystery. Yeah, mystery beasts that could swallow the planet. We love those here at MA. The bear has 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth, so that's a pleasant image to imagine when referencing such an animal. The leopard also has wings. Good stuff, so you can't outrun that one, as well as 4 heads. Again, good stuff. Now I've lost that's like 8 heads now? What are we at? The mysterious 4th beast is full of horns, and it's got iron teeth and 10 horns. That's so many horns, that's so many spikes. The 4 beasts symbolize the great 4 kingdoms, but the ribs and the teeth thing, that's gonna be in my head rent-free, that's for sure.
Starting us off at number 10, World War III. Now, I hate to say it, but if there is one prediction that has been made that doesn't seem like an incredible long shot, it would be this one. There are currently conflicts all over the world and tensions are rising, and who knows what could happen over the next few months. Of course, I'll be hoping with every morsel of my being that it will not come true. I mean, obviously, the last thing that any of us want is another world war to break out. Although Nostradamus has been known to have some success in his foresight, let's just hope that this one missed the mark. Next up at number 9, people will fall from the sky. According to TikToker and alleged time traveler from 2671, Ina Alaric, in 2023 we will see people mysteriously fall from the sky out of nowhere. No planes will be flying overhead, and they won't be skydivers, but simply falling like rain and crashing to their death. Now, he doesn't say much else about this claim, just that there will be exactly 7 people, and that June 18th, 2023 will be the fateful day. And I mean, I agree that people falling from the sky is certainly cause for concern. I'm just having a bit of a hard time believing that a random TikToker who claims to be from the future is our best chance at foreseeing what is in store for 2023. But that being said, I should be careful because this is not something I want to jinx, so let's just hope this is not something we will need to deal with come June 18th. Next up at number 8, moving to Mars. Another Nostradamus prediction for 2023 is that this will be the year humans move to Mars. Now, maybe this is a result of the Earth's destruction. As mentioned earlier, he does predict a 3rd world war to break out the same year. Now, maybe he's onto something. We already know that Elon Musk has been trying to make this a reality, but their timelines don't quite line up, as he suggests that humans will visit Mars by 2029. But who knows, maybe the technology will be expedited and we will all be making our way to the red planet sometime next year. Though I won't be hoping for that, because if we're making our way to a new planet next year, that means something has gone horribly wrong with the one we've got now. Next up at number 7, no more money. Nostradamus was not the only fortune teller to have predictions for 2023. Famous blind seer Baba Vanga saw the end of money in 2023. Now, it's hard to imagine how a world would function without currency, as literally everything revolves around it. But if you think about it a little less literally, we are already seeing the beginnings of this. Cash is virtually on its way out, and everyone pays for everything with their phone or their bank cards. Plus, with the addition of cryptocurrencies, who knows how long the idea of currency as we currently understand and use it will remain. So while it does seem like it would be the end of the world if money no longer existed, maybe she was onto something. Coming in at number 6, celestial fire. According to the famous 15th century seer, along with a world war and a relocation to Mars, we are also going to be seeing a giant celestial fire breakout. Followers of Nostradamus believe he means that our sky will quite literally be on fire, and if that doesn't scream end of times, then I'm not sure what does. Now, some have interpreted his vision a bit more poetically, suggesting that it signifies a new world from the ashes of an old one, but I'm not sure that this is much better in terms of a doomsday prophecy. It seems like either way you cut it, Nostradamus thinks some way or somehow the world as we know it will die in 2023. Let's just hope that this is another anticlimactic 2012 situation. Next up at number 5, a change in orbit. According to Baba Vanga, in the year 2023, our Earth will change its orbit. Now, the details of how this would actually happen were not given, but if it turns out to be true, we are in for some serious issues. For starters, any shift in the Earth's orbit could bring devastating damages to sea level and our climate, both of which are particularly thriving to begin with. And even worse, if the Earth moved any closer to the sun, the increased radiation and temperatures would cause a complete breakdown. Essentially, any changes to the Earth's orbit would send us into complete and full mayhem and would very much be the end of the world. Coming in at number 4, bioweapons. Now, if a world war and a flipped orbit didn't scare you, then maybe this just might. According to Vanga, in 2023 there will be a big country that will carry out bioweapon studies on humans, which would have horrifying consequences. Now, the good news is that many large countries like Canada, the US, the UK have a complete ban on these types of experiments. But there are other countries around the world that could still be the culprit. But that being said, who knows? If other 2023 predictions are true, countries could pull out of this treaty and begin conducting experiments to try and make it out alive. The consequences of the release of bioweapons could be detrimental and has the potential to wipe out the whole planet if we aren't careful. Next up at number 3, nuclear explosion. Among her many foresights for 2023, Vanga also warned that next year a nuclear power plant will explode, causing irreparable damage. Now, there are certain countries at war currently that do possess the power to cause such a disaster, making it all the more eerie. Now, what's spooky about Vanga is that she has a wild success rate, 85% in fact, according to scientists that have studied her predictions. So it has many wondering if this prediction will fall into that 85% success rate along with Chernobyl and her own death date, or if it will be among the 15% that she has missed. For the sake of our planet, I am crossing my fingers that this is not something we will be facing come the next year. Next up at number 2, a solar tsunami. As if the predictions for 2023 haven't been through enough already, there is a dark end of world prediction that there will be a solar storm on a scale never seen before. Now, solar storms happen when a burst of energy is released from the sun, and this sends electrical charges and radiation hurling towards the Earth. While that does sound a bit freaky, it actually happens all the time, like the Northern Lights for example. What Vanga was predicting is more along the lines of complete and utter worldwide blackout followed by technological failures and overall global panic. Quite literally, she is describing a dark age. If her prediction is true, it would essentially cause complete societal collapse, and truthfully, who knows what happens from there. And last up in our number 1 spot, lab births. Almost like some weird cousin to The Handmaid's Tale, Vanga predicts a dystopian world where in 2023 we will see the end to natural human births. Specifically, that birth, the way that we've been doing since the beginning of time, will be banned. She claims to foresee that the government will make it law that all life must be created in a lab, and that medical experts would essentially decide how many people are born a year, and that parents would be able to customize their traits and appearances even. Now, this prediction doesn't come totally out of left field, as we do have the capabilities to involve science in the process to a much higher degree than ever before. A while back, an article was circulating about a real-life human boy named Adam who was created in a lab from stem cells and grown in an artificial gestational sac for 36 weeks, and it caused quite the uproar. Now, this article was proven to be fake, but the entire idea of it was believable at the time and certainly made many very uncomfortable. Could it be something that comes true in our future? I sure as hell hope not.
Kicking off our list at number 10, artificial intelligence. This one sounds silly, but we're actually quite close to Ultron in real life. Nice. We have robots that do parkour. You can push these things around and they'll still continue to do their little silly robot walk. Robots are so scary. Now, imagine Siri if she decided to go rogue one day and take over the body of one of these Boston Dynamic parkour robots. Then what? It's game over. I've seen iRobot, okay? I don't want any part of this future. According to CB Insights, where they asked 52 experts, they all agreed that AI will eventually be our downfall, and by that time it'll be too late. Even the late Stephen Hawking said AI would be impossible to control. Elon Musk, he's been reinforcing how crucial it is right now to regulate AI. We can't regulate technology that we can't predict. Elon Musk. Number 9. Apophis. Yeah, we thought the world was going to end in 2012 and the Mayan calendar tipped us off, thank you for that. But luckily nothing happened. They even made a movie about it. John Cusack got a paycheck all for nothing. All because of the Mayan calendar. Well, we might be seeing another disaster movie in 8 years, with the asteroid Apophis coming close. It's in the category of potentially hazardous asteroids, and on April 13th, 2029, it's gonna barely miss Earth in its passing. And around 2 billion people will be able to witness the possible end with their naked eye. Yeah, it's that close. An asteroid might hit us on Friday the 13th in 2029. Scientists were actually unsure about if this thing would hit or not, and even to this day, Earth's gravitational pull may just influence this near miss. So it might actually hit us. Who knows? Fingers crossed. Number 8. Yellowstone National Park. Nothing like a big old volcano to shake up your day. Sweet. The super volcano rumbling under Yellowstone National Park could wipe out millions any second. It's exploded 3 times in the past. Once 2 million years ago, once 1 million years ago, and then once 664,000 years ago. And the next one, well, could happen as soon as you click like and subscribe. Yeah, could happen right now. Back in 2014, a team of researchers laid out what an erupting Yellowstone would actually look like in real life, and it's horrifying. It's massive. Entire states would be gone just like that. Hot magma would rain down as far as San Francisco, so it'd be Pompeii all over again. And on top of all that chaos, volcanic ash would cover most of our sunlight, so bye-bye crops and tan lines. It would be a dark and cold world for a little while. They of course had a Yellowstone scene in the movie 2012, the classic John Cusack one I just mentioned, and while it's cinematic, I guess, it would be a lot louder and way faster, okay? Number 7. True Way. There was a UFO religion from Taiwan that predicted the end of the world. True Way religion mixes Christianity, Buddhism, Taiwanese folk religion, and UFO conspiracy theories all balled into one to create this way of belief. And their leader, Han Chen, believed that the end of the world was near. He preached that God himself would appear on US national television, on channel 18, very specific, on March 25th, 1988, all to announce that he would be returning to Earth in the following week. The following year, he preached that millions of devil spirits, as well as massive floodings, would result in the mass extinction of the human population. It sounded pretty alarming, of course, but Han Chen had a plan to save those who followed him and his beliefs. He told his followers that to save themselves from this horrible fate, they could pay to board a spacecraft disguised as a cloud that would then be sent to rescue them. Number 6. Harold Camping. Harold here was obsessed with trying to predict the end of the world. He publicly predicted the end of the world at least 12 times, and he even published a book in 1992 titled 1994, where of course he predicted that the world would end sometime around that year. Now, seeing as I was born that year, I'd say we're all good 27 years later. He based his predictions on biblical numerology, but it wasn't exactly accurate. His most high-profile prediction of the end of the world was May 21st, 2011, exactly 7,000 years after the biblical flood. But when that day passed and everything was, still not submerged in seawater, he readjusted his prediction, saying that his math was actually off and the world would actually end on October 21st, 2011 instead. Number 5, sun gamma bursts. Our sun is hot, she's bumping, she's keeping us alive, getting us, well, certainly not me, still pale in August, but she's helping out some of us. The northern lights are a fun result from cosmic activity, but can we handle any more than that beauty? When we look at extinction level events like, say, a meteor hitting the planet, we can bounce back from that, right? Not dinosaurs, but humans, sure, we have a fighting chance. When it comes to gamma rays hitting the planet, that's kind of it, guys, not gonna lie to you. Unless you're the Incredible Hulk and you soak it all up, you're not gonna have a pleasant go. Gamma rays happen when stars explode in distant galaxies. Light and energy then shoots out, along with radio waves, neutrinos, and gamma rays, just a cosmic confetti of all shapes and sizes, and all that good space stuff travels light years through space, and if they were to hit Earth, our ozone would just be toast forever. We would be engulfed in a chemical smog. Number 4. Passing asteroids. On August 16th, 2020, a small asteroid shot past our planet, barely 3,000 kilometers above Earth's surface. That's really close. God, how did we not hear about this more? We may not even see it coming either. That's the scary thing. This August asteroid was only discovered a few hours after it made its close call to Earth. So even if it did hit Earth, we wouldn't even, there'd be no tip-off. We would just all of a sudden not exist. So that's probably ideally the best way to go. I don't know. Number 3. Millerism. Religious leader William Miller started preaching in 1831 that the world was going to end. According to him, the end times would come within the second coming of Christ and that he would return in 1843. This prediction led Miller to gaining 100,000 followers, in real life of course, and they believed that in the end, they too would be carried off to heaven with William Miller. Nice, just how we want to go. Obviously, the world didn't actually end in 1843. Miller recalculated, and instead, he then predicted that the end of the world and Jesus' second coming would happen the following year, in 1844. Documents were found on one of Miller's followers who wrote about his experience waiting for the predicted events to unfold, and he seemed a little upset that nothing happened. It's kind of funny to look back on. The follower, a man named Henry Emmons, wrote, and I quote, "I waited all Tuesday, and dear Jesus did not come. I lay prostrate for 2 days without any panic, sick with disappointment." End quote. Number 2. A great fire. Back in the 1600s, London saw quite the blaze, and it was predicted long before, as are most of these catastrophic events. The Great Fire of 1666. Nice, 666, devil, nice, hit that subscribe button. In the Bible, it references the number 666 as the number of the beast, living in the depths below. So many Christians in Europe at the time, back in the 1600s, believed that the world was going to end in 1666. It's kind of like our version of the Mayan Calendar debacle in 2012. The thing is, the Great Fire actually happened that year. Yeah, September 2nd to September 5th, the blaze destroyed the city, including 87 churches and 13,000 homes. Many saw this as the prophecy of the end of the world coming true, but on the bright side of all this, pun not intended, with all the property damage, the death toll for this Great Fire was relatively low. Only 10 people died, which is actually insane when you think about it. And finally, number 1, the Great Flood. This one is most likely how we will meet our collective demise. Here we go. Hope you got your water wings. Back in the 1500s, German mathematician and astrologer Johann Staufler predicted that a great flood would cover the world and result, of course, in the death of humanity and all of our loved ones as we know it. He even pinpointed a date, February 25th, 1524. This was when all the planets would be aligned under Pisces, which was a water sign, so you obviously see where I'm heading with this one. Soon after he made this prediction, hundreds of pamphlets were spread around warning of this great flood, and as you can imagine, this caused immediate panic. A German nobleman believed this, maybe a little too much, and he gathered all of his resources to build a 3-story ark. He went full-on Noah for this doomsday prediction. He had a 3-story ark built, and in the end though, when the day of February 25th, 1524 arrived, it rained. And that's about it. Yeah, it was a light one at most. No flooding going on here.
Us off, and at number 10, we have another ice age. Okay, now that was obviously from the movie Day After Tomorrow, one of my all-time favorites, but a lot of people actually wonder if an ice age can happen again. Our last ice age was about 11,700 years ago. Experts have been tracking when the next ice age can happen, and it's believed it can happen within the next 1,500 years, which is not too far distant into the future. I mean, that's about 15 generations from now when you think about it. At number 9, Venus can actually go into a collision course with Earth. Both these planets are very similar in size, and Venus is often called Earth's twin sister. The inner solar system is very unstable, and Jupiter's gravity can change Mercury's orbit around the Sun, creating a new path. This new path can be on a collision course with Venus, which would cause a domino effect, removing Venus from its orbit and on a collision course with Earth. Venus crashing into Earth would be absolutely catastrophic, and nothing would be able to survive an impact like that. Maybe this is why Stephen Hawking and Elon Musk, my hero, wants to become a multi-planet species, because maybe they know the end is near. Now at number 8, we have a massive asteroid that would demolish the existence of humans on Earth. There are so many doomsday asteroids that are coming closer and closer to Earth. There are so many like near misses. Absolutely terrifying. Back in 2004, it was predicted that 99942 Apopus had a 2.7% chance of hitting Earth by 2029. That date's coming up pretty damn soon, and I couldn't even find if the odds have increased or decreased over the time that it was predicted. Just days ago, NASA has revealed that an asteroid they're calling JF1, that is the size of the Great Pyramid of Giza, might be on a collision course with the Earth on May 6, 2022. That's even closer, and that can have devastating consequences we wouldn't even want to know about. Experts believe it could hit the Earth with 230,000 tons of TNT, which is 15 times larger than the atomic bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima in 1945. About 90,000 to 146,000 people died because of the atomic bomb. Number 7, we have disease. We're no stranger to the damages caused by disease. By now, we have probably all heard about the epidemic influenza virus, right? There's also the Spanish flu, the H1N1 influenza pandemic that happened back in 1918 and infected 500 million people. The population back then was about 1.6 billion, so we're talking about over 30% of the world being infected. Out of the 500 million, 50 to 100 million people died. Well, the reason why I brought this up is because pandemics are still happening, and we have had some close calls with SARS. There was Ebola. Do you guys remember those scares? I mean, it was pretty recent. Well, scientists have actually been able to make the H1N1 virus in the lab to try to make a cure for the virus, so hopefully there's not a breach there and it doesn't get into the wrong hands, or there's not another breakout of the H1N1 virus that they created. With that question on our minds, let's move on to number 6. We have a supervolcano. When talking about world-ending volcanoes, we always turn to one very intimidating volcano. We're talking about the Yellowstone Caldera volcano located in Yellowstone National Park in the United States. Experts believe we could be due for this volcano to erupt again, like at any moment. It erupts every 600,000 years on average, and it's been about 631,000 years since it's last erupted, so we're pretty overdue right now.
But it could be the world's most powerful natural weapon of mass destruction. If it erupts, scientists say it would be more powerful than 60 million atom bombs.
At number 5, we have World War III. Have you guys ever heard that saying? I don't know how World War III will end, but World War IV will begin with sticks and stones. With all of the technology that we have in the modern era, we can easily just blow up the whole world and leave nothing behind. World War III has been talked about for years, and pretty recently, I mean, due to all the high tensions between the powerhouse countries, there's been America and the Russian feud. Also America and China, they have their huge tariff wars going on right now. North Korea has been threatening America. North Korea might have some pretty powerful nuclear weapons that can destroy all of America, and it's a pretty scary world that we live in right now. At number 4, we have the sun running out of fuel. I think that woman is a little bit cuckoo. I think she's a little bit cray, because how would we be inside of the sun for a while? I mean, the whole planet would just melt away. In the summertime, the sun is already super hot. I can't imagine if we were any closer to it. Well, we're not really talking about getting closer to the sun. We're talking about what happens when the sun runs out of fuel, because that will happen. Well, it's called core hydrogen exhaustion, but we don't have to worry about this anytime soon. This will begin to happen around 5.4 billion years from now, and I wonder what humans will look like then, on what planets we're gonna be living on. Because we're gonna have to evacuate Earth. planets, and maybe even our solar system to go find another sun. Since running out of the sun's fuel would take so long, let me talk about something a bit more plausible, and it can happen a lot sooner, which is pretty scary, and this comes in at number 3. We're talking about giant solar flares from the sun. A solar flare is a sudden flash of increased brightness on the sun. Looking directly at the sun for just a few seconds could already blind you. Imagine if Earth was hit by solar flares. First of all, there would be fires everywhere because it would be so hot and everyone would become blind if they weren't on fire already. This would look like a nuclear apocalypse. Is this real life right now? Okay, that got really intense, and luckily it was just a movie, but it could be reality. Can you guys name the movie of the clip I just showed you guys? Let me know in the comment section below. I bet all of you guys know it. It's a big movie. Number 2, being sucked into a black hole. Our galaxy is known to be full of black holes, and this is one thing Stephen Hawking devoted his whole life towards, and he always warned us about something coming. Well, what is he talking about? A black hole's gravity is so strong, it just swallows everything. Stellar black holes have a radius of about 300 kilometers, which sounds like it could be plausible for it to swallow up Earth. We don't even need to be in a direct collision course with a black hole. They also have a gravitational pull around them, so who knows, maybe we're already in a black hole's gravitational field and are slowly going closer and closer. Finally, at number 1, robots. Yes, the theory that robots will take out humanity and take over the world could be very real. That was Sophia, and it seems like she wants to destroy us and take over, and it already seems like it's happening. Sophia back in 2017 actually became a citizen of Saudi Arabia. Computers are becoming so intelligent that they're now becoming self-learning. Machines and robots are building themselves. They seem to have a language we cannot understand, so it's a matter of time where they say, it's time.
Starting off this countdown, we have the 6th seal. In the book of Revelation, the 7 seals are the apocalyptic visions seen by John of Patmos. And apparently we have one more prophecy to fulfill before we reach the 7th seal, which marks the end of the world. One seal that we have fulfilled is the 6th seal. The 6th seal talks about an earthquake followed by the sun turning black and the moon turning blood red and mountains and islands disappearing underwater. Well, many believe that this happened with the Lisbon earthquake in November of 1755. A very disastrous earthquake caused a tsunami, and that covered cities. Then 25 years later in New England, the sun was completely blacked out by noon, and they call it New England's dark day. That's not all though. Over the years, we have had a number of blood moons where the moon appears red. So that right there fulfills all of the points in this 6th seal, meaning we are now on to the 7th seal, the final one. In our 9th spot, we have the earthquakes and food shortages. Matthew 24:7 says, and I quote, "For nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be food shortages and earthquakes in one place after another." Food shortages and food security still impacts millions of people. It's said that 1 in 9 people go to bed hungry each night. 1 in 3 suffer from some form of malnutrition. On top of that, over 3 million people die each year from hunger. Not only that, but in the future, we might experience even worse food shortages as we deplete our natural resources and destroy our earth. Luke 21:11 also talks about earthquakes and food shortages. The passage says, and I quote, "There will be great earthquakes, and in one place after another, food shortages and pestilences, and there will be fearful sights, and from heaven great signs." Well, every year the world faces around 50,000 earthquakes, and most recently we have been faced with larger, more destructive ones. Not only that, but Prophet Nostradamus predicts for an upcoming earthquake to wipe out and destroy all of California. So, maybe we should be concerned. In our 8th spot, we have the impending wars. Prior to Jesus' second coming, there will apparently be wars. This is according to the Gospel of Matthew, and I quote, "And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet." Then Matthew 24:12 talks about how with the increase in violence, people will become less loving. And because lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold. And with the tensions between Russia and the Ukraine, this war might be coming sooner than we thought. In our 7th spot, we have the persecution of Christians. Many believe that 3 prophecies must come to pass before Jesus comes back, one of them being the persecution of Christians. Revelation 12:17 states that, and I quote, "The dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went to make war with the rest of her offspring, who keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ." Basically, this is about people being shamed for worshiping God. Well, this is already coming to pass in countries like China. In 2018, Chinese Christians were being persecuted. 300 members lost their churches. Hundreds of CCP officers attacked the churches and destroyed the properties. Bibles and holy books were confiscated, and residents had to swap posters of the cross and Jesus with portraits of the president. In our 6th spot today, we have the mark. In the book of Revelation 13:16-17, it talks about a mark of the beast that people receive from the false prophet. And I quote, "It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of its name." And this ultimately means that you have rejected God and you are now identifying with Satan. Well, some conspiracy theorists believe that the mark that the book was referring to are vaccines. Others believe it refers to smart technology or China's credit system. For smart technology, it's like the Apple Watch, where it has a microchip that can be used to track and monitor a person anywhere in the world at any time. I know it's wild, but some people actually do believe this. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with Chernobyl. According to the book of Revelation, a number of things will happen at the end of days. One of them, including a star named Wormwood falling from the sky, poisoning a third of all rivers and water. Well, some people believe that this came true during the Chernobyl nuclear power plant disaster. Now, why is that? Well, the Ukrainian word Chernobyl is the name of a plant that is a close botanical cousin of wormwood. Plus, the disaster did poison the nearby rivers, just like the star is said to. Moving on to number 4, we have blood rain. Revelation 8:7 talks about how one of the signs that the end is near is through hail and fire mingled with blood. Well, since 2020, we have been seeing lots of excessive hailstorms all over the world. And on July 25th, 2001, a number of districts in India had red rain come pouring down on them. Seeing this rain made people flee their homes in panic. This strange rain fell from the sky for about 20 minutes. And to this day, scientists have yet come up with a simple explanation for the blood rain in this area. In our 3rd spot, we have global warming. Another prophecy from the book of Revelation says that the heavens will be on fire during the end of times. The scripture reads, and I quote, "But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up." Well, some people interpret this as the heating of our earth, aka climate change and global warming, which is a huge issue that we are facing. The world is heating at alarming rates, resulting in more disasters like forest fires and droughts. In our 2nd spot, we have the plague. In the book of Revelation, the end of the world is preceded by widespread pestilence and plague. A number of people think the plague the book is talking about is currently happening with our pandemic, meaning the end is near. In the final chapters of the Bible, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse arrive to destroy the planet. The horsemen are religious deception, war, famine, and disease. The 4th horseman is literally called pestilence or plague. So people think that the horsemen are here currently. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the asteroids. Now let's say that the whole Chernobyl wormwood thing was just a coincidence, okay? You know what's not a coincidence? An asteroid known as Wormwood said to come to Earth in 2022. That's right. Revelation 8:10-11 literally says, and I quote, "A great star fell from heaven burning like a torch, and it fell on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. The name of the star is Wormwood, and it just so happens that this year, on May 6th, NASA says that an asteroid named Wormwood might strike Earth." Like, this is one prediction that actually has me scared.